What's up, everybody, and welcome back to RobLive. This is episode 9, Remembering Who You Are. I'm going to start with some quotes today. The first quote comes from C.S. Lewis, and the quote is, "We are what we believe we are." Then our second quote comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and that is, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." So today we're going to be talking about this idea that we go through things in life, and some of them are very successful moments and others are struggles. And we have this tendency sometimes to allow the struggles to define who we are as opposed to our success. And that's a habit we want to make sure we can, overcome and break, so that we can rely heavily on those past successes as a stepping stone to get to a higher level of success by remembering what we are capable of. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The first example I want to give you is from my own life. It's my son. I have a little reminder here. I have a son that's been nicknamed Panda. Many people ask me about his nickname, and it has a lot to do with remembering who you are. So the way the nickname came about is the movie Kung Fu Panda had been released, and we went out to the movies to watch Kung Fu Panda. And for those who recall, if you don't recall the movie, if you haven't heard about it, there is a very unlikely hero who's a panda who, doesn't have a lot of great athletic ability, etc. Doesn't fit the mold of a kung fu hero, and is surprisingly labeled the dragon warrior. And the whole movie, he's like, "Yeah, I think you got the wrong guy. That's not me." He doesn't see himself as the dragon warrior. And throughout the movie, he's told that if he's able to reach this blank scroll at the top of the building in his dojo, that he will have the secret to becoming the dragon warrior. And he finally brings the scroll down at the end of the movie, and the scroll is blank. The message there being that he already had within him everything he needed to become the dragon warrior. He just had to remind himself of his ability, his greatness, what was already within him to be able to, become the dragon warrior. And so it was one of these lessons, about, hey, don't forget who you are. You have a lot of power within you. You just got to remember that. And so I took that lesson and I told my son, Julian, at the time, who was struggling with confidence in terms of baseball, right? And he was struggling with confidence. So I said, "Hey, listen, remember that movie Kung Fu Panda?" And he's like, yeah. I said, "Remember that the panda didn't think he was capable of certain things, but then he remembered that it's all within him. And then when he was able to recognize the power within him, he became the dragon warrior." Well, when you go out there and play baseball, when you're at the bat, I want you to remember that you have whatever it takes to be successful at baseball within you already. You've been successful in the past. You've hit the ball in the past. You've been an asset to your team. So just because you might be struggling at the plate, or maybe you strike out, that doesn't mean that your abilities have diminished or that they're gone. It just means that in that moment, you have a struggle. It is temporary. Do not forget who you are. So he goes up to the plate the next game, and we've had this talk about the Kung Fu Panda movie, and he's up there and he's strike one, strike two, and he's starting to feel nervous. He's about to strike out, and I start yelling to him, "Hey, don't forget, Kung Fu Panda." And his teammates hear me, saying the word panda, and they're like, "Oh, is that his nickname now? Is that what we're going with?" And they all start calling him Panda, and that's where the nickname Panda came from. But all I was simply trying to do was remind him of the movie Kung Fu Panda, and that if you recognize what is within you, that you can regain the confidence that you once had and not have to be defined by your current struggle. Right? So it's all about remembering who you are. Another great example, this one comes from Disney, is The Lion King. For those who have not seen the movie, The Lion King is about a young lion whose father passes, and then he's kind of confused about his role in life now. He doesn't feel deserving of taking over the throne, and he has this conniving uncle who tries to convince him so he can take the throne. Anyway, there's a part of the movie where he's feeling banished from his pride or his community because he feels he's at fault for the death of his father. He really wasn't. It was the uncle who had murdered the father. But anyway, he felt responsible. He felt he wasn't worthy of taking his father's throne, etc. And a wise monkey, Rafiki, takes him under his wing and says, hey, listen, I want to show you something. He's like, all right. So he takes him to the pond and he says, look at your reflection in the water. And as he looks at the reflection in the water, he sees himself. He's like, yeah, this is just a reflection of me. He's like, no, look closer. And he starts to realize his strong resemblance to his father. And he sees his father's spirit in that reflection. And Rafiki, the wise monkey, says, hey, remember who you are. You are the true heir to the throne. You have all of the abilities necessary to take lead of your pride right now. Right? Pride meaning your group of lions. But you have to remember who you are so you can instill that confidence in yourself based on what already exists within and bringing it out. So it's a great scene. You can see it on YouTube called Remember Who You Are. The last example I have here comes from my own baseball experience. Again, I've mentioned this before, but I'm in a 50 and over baseball league. And the reason I got back into baseball at 50 years old was a couple of reasons, but one of the big reasons was I felt like I had left the sport too early. I left in the 8th grade to pursue other sports, and I wasn't having the success that I wanted at baseball, so I walked away from it. And I always thought, there was a lot more baseball left in me. And I didn't make any moves about it. Life gets in the way and you have marriage and children and career. And so now at 50 years old, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And luckily I found Tim Fujioka, who invited me to play with his team. And so I'm back, my first season back at baseball. And of course, the body is still trying to reacclimate to all the activity. There's been several injuries and setbacks. But what has really kept me going is constantly reminding myself of how much success I've had with baseball in the past. And despite my age and despite the lack of athleticism that now exists compared to what I had back then, I still remind myself that I was a very good athlete and that baseball came very naturally to me, so that it is something that if I'm able to get my body back into shape, I can do successfully. And so I've had to remember who I am as an athlete in order to have some success with baseball, right? And that's not an easy task when you're constantly failing. But I've had, the fortunate wisdom passed on to me that you cannot forget who you are in those moments of struggle, because that's when you lean on it most. You lean on your past success. You lean on what abilities you're capable of. So whether you're out there trying to get back into a career, or maybe you're trying to just get back into the swing of life, one of the best things you can do for yourself is remind yourself of the success that you have had in the past in whatever area of life that might be. Everyone has experienced some success. And if you've had that success before, you can replicate it again. Whatever abilities are still within you. You just have to have the confidence to bring them back out and not ever forget who you are and what you are truly capable of. Okay, so for this week, I have my RobLive challenge, right? The lesson is, again, don't forget who you are in the midst of a struggle. You are the same capable being that existed before the struggle, and you're going to get through this. Okay, so my RobLive challenge this week is number 1, list 3 of your most difficult yet successful accomplishments. List 3 times in your life when you were able to have success. Then post them in a visible place for the next month. Type them out on a Google Doc, print them out, put them on the wall, or even just write them down and put them in a place that you can see every day. For some people, it's the bathroom mirror. For some people, it's the bedside table, right? Sometimes it's the bedroom wall. Wherever it is, a place where you can see it daily to remind yourself of your past success and who you are. And then look at this every morning as a reminder of who you are for the next month. See how that plays into the way you view yourself. I guarantee you're going to have some positive affirmations being thrown your way every morning when you look at that success that you've had. All right. With that being said, I'd like to say love, peace, and chicken grease. I'm RobLive, and we're out.